When it comes to the NBA, there is nothing better than the taste of revenge. Maybe this revenge comes after losing to the same team year in and year out, like when Michael Jordan finally beat the bad boy Detroit Pistons. Or maybe this revenge comes in silencing your biggest haters, like when LeBron James finally proved to the world that he was an NBA champion. Or maybe this revenge comes after a team decided to give up on you, and so you show them why they made a mistake.
The Raptors, Griffin, rebound kill. 5 seconds to go in regulation. Over the timeline, Jason kills.
So what's up guys, Mike here, and today we're going to look at 5 times NBA players got traded and then got some massive revenge on the teams that traded them. This video actually includes a lot of forgotten great NBA moments in it, so I'm very excited for you guys to watch it. All I have to say before we start is that if you do enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like. It helps out a ton. You guys have been killing it with likes lately, and I really think it does help, so thank you. And now let's jump into this video. When looking at the history of the Toronto Raptors, it can easily be said that it was Vince Carter who put Toronto on the map for good. And after spending several all-star seasons with the team, in the summer of 2004, Vince was expecting the Raptors to go all in for a championship run. Steve Nash was actually a free agent at the time, and Vince wanted the Raptors to make a run at signing him. However, the franchise would not even attempt to sign Nash, and this made Carter angry. Now, being fair here, Vince certainly did not handle this situation well at all. He basically gave zero effort whenever he was on the court and told the Raptors to trade him or he was going to continue to play horribly. This would result in Vince being traded to the New Jersey Nets, and if we take a minute to look at Vince's 2005 season stats here, we can see the difference between Vince's stats on the Raptors versus stats on the Nets is staggering. Again, it is clear that Vince completely gave up on the Toronto Raptors, and because of this, Vince was not a popular man in Canada anymore. It would not take long for Vince to get his revenge though, as on January 8th, 2006, the Nets were playing the Raptors when Vince Carter would score 12 points in the last 75 seconds of the game. The Nets were down by 6 when Vince Carter would tip in his own miss to cut the lead to 4. Then on the other end, he would grab a rebound and but the Raptors would score, which meant Vince Carter wasn't done. First, he would knock down 2 free throws to make this a 1-point game, and then after Jose Calderon shockingly missed a free throw, Vince would do this.
And for that matter, the Raptors, Griffin, rebound kill. 5 seconds to go in regulation. Over the timeline, Jason kills.
Already, this single game is worthy of a section in this video. However, this is not where the story ends. In the 2007 season, however, in the first round of the playoffs, the Toronto Raptors would match up against none other than Vince Carter and the New Jersey Nets, and trust me, the hostility was still there. As in the first game of this series, this was the reaction from the fans when Vince first touched the ball.
5 on the shot clock. Carter with the step back.
Yeah. Now at this point, the series was tied 1-1, and this game was crucial. This meant again, Vince Carter would rise to the occasion and finish with 37 points on 15 of 23 shooting in a 13-point win. And from there, the Nets would go on to win this series, and to add further insult to injury, we are now going to jump to November 21st, 2008. Because in this game, the Nets were down by 7 with around 45 seconds left when suddenly, Vince Carter would not let the New Jersey Nets lose. First, he would bully his way to the basket and the lead was down to 5. Then on the next possession,
big stuff. Here's Carter, drills it. Watch out, 4-point game.
Then after a stop, Carter would take the ball.
Here's Carter. Carter trying to get by, does, to the hole.
And the lead was only 2, but there was just 4 seconds left. Again though, the Raptors would miss a free throw, which led to this.
Carter up top. Carter!
Yes, another clutch 3 from Vince, this one sending the game into overtime. Overall, this time Vince would score 12 points in the last 45 seconds of this game. And the thing is, Vince was not done yet, because after Anthony Parker drained an insane 3-pointer to tie the game for the Raptors in overtime, it was Vince's time to shine yet again.
Carter, oh no!
Now, in 2014, Raptors fans would officially forgive Vince for leaving in an emotional ceremony for the franchise's 20th anniversary. When DeMarcus Cousins was on the Sacramento Kings, his relationship with the team was seen as rocky at best. And things with DeMarcus would only get worse after Mike Malone, a coach who DeMarcus respected, was shockingly fired and replaced with George Karl. And to make things simple here, DeMarcus Cousins and George Karl did not get along at all. This could be seen after DeMarcus was suspended after a shouting match he had with George Karl after a game against the Orlando Magic. And years later, after his time with the Kings was over, DeMarcus would not hold back, stating that George Karl was, quote, one of the worst coaches I've ever had. And so after DeMarcus was traded to the New Orleans Pelicans, there was a reason for revenge to be had here, as next season, in his first game back in Sacramento, this is when DeMarcus would fully demolish his former team. Just 22 seconds into this game, Cousins would throw down a dunk that would signal the start of a monster performance. Well, kind of. I say this because with 5 minutes and 40 seconds left, the Pelicans were down 25-6. At this point, it did not seem like it was DeMarcus's night, but shortly after, he would hit Jameer Nelson with an assist on a three-pointer to cut the lead to 16. And then on the next possession, it was Jameer who would give the ball to DeMarcus, where DeMarcus would showcase his versatility with a drive to the basket. And really, in this game overall, DeMarcus would showcase the evolution of his offensive arsenal. With 2 minutes and 30 seconds left to go in the game, however, the Kings were still up by 1 when
Cousins for three.
Then, now up by 4.
Nelson on the hop. Here's Cousins for the stuff.
And with under a minute left, we had the dagger.
21 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 3-pointers. Cousins to the rim. Cousins on the follow.
And in the end, the Pelicans would win this game 114-106, and DeMarcus finished with a big-time 41-point, 23-rebound, and 6-assist performance. So DeMarcus certainly got his revenge, but even though he was kind of blindsided, DeMarcus has mostly spoken highly of Sacramento. That is not the case for Blake Griffin, because after moving on from Chris Paul, it was expected that Blake Griffin was going to become the sole face of the Clippers franchise. And the reason many people, including Blake, believed this was that in the summer of 2017, the Clippers gave Blake a $173 million contract that was good until 2022, assuming Blake accepted his player option. And during the Clippers' attempts to re-sign Blake, it was even reported that the team had a mock jersey retirement ceremony for him, and on top of this, Clippers executive Lawrence Frank said, quote, "We are going to do everything we can to keep Blake a Clipper." However, one of the most shocking trade deadline deals in recent history would take place as Blake Griffin was sent to the Detroit Pistons. This was a move that certainly blindsided Blake, as he posted this GIF to Twitter after learning about the news. Blake would even go on to state that he found out about this news on Twitter, the ultimate form of disrespect. And so, after getting betrayed by his former team, it would soon be time for revenge. This revenge would not come right away, however, as in his first game against the Clippers, Blake and the Pistons would actually lose by 13 points, and Blake himself had an underwhelming performance, shooting just 7 from 19 from the field and only scoring 19 points. And after this game, Blake would confirm his anger towards the Clippers as,
"That will do it. The Clippers beat the Pistons in their first game against their former teammate. 108-95 the final."
Yes, Blake refused to shake anyone's hand. Finally, though, on January 12th, 2019, in Blake's first game back in LA against the Clippers, revenge would come in a big way. And things would actually get tense here during the pregame warmups, as when Clippers owner Steve Ballmer went to greet Blake, Blake blatantly ignored Ballmer and instead sprinted towards the locker room, which was kind of petty, but the showdown here would officially start when, less than 2 minutes into this game,
Blake for three, and it's through.
And then go on to score 26 points in the first half. We are going to fast forward to the fourth quarter here, though, despite the fact that at one point Detroit led by 10 points in the fourth, with 4 minutes and 45 seconds left to go.
Defense by Pat Beverly, staying with the contact against Reggie Jackson.
Lou for the tie. Bingo!
that was no problem for Blake, as on the next 3 possessions, Blake would first feed Reggie Bullock for a 3, then hit Andre Drummond for an easy dunk, and again find Bullock for another 3. Then finally, on possession number 4, Blake took the ball himself and scored. In this span, the Pistons would take an 8-point lead and hold on for a 5-point win. And at the end of this night, it was again Blake Griffin who stole the show, as Blake would finish with an awesome 44 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals. Blake took off for what looked like a statement dunk, but was cut off by Patrick Beverley. The two exchanged heated words, but in the end, Blake left with the ultimate trash talk, a statement win. Continuing on, in the 2004 offseason, the Dallas Mavericks had a tough decision to make. Dirk Nowitzki was, at the time, the obvious face of the franchise, but they also had an all-star caliber point guard in Steve Nash. Nash was an unrestricted free agent and was very interested in returning to Dallas. However, after Phoenix offered Nash a 6-year deal worth over $60 million, Dallas decided not to match that offer, which I know is not a trade, but the Mavericks made a decision to get rid of Steve Nash here, so give me a pass on this one because the story is great. Because in his first game against Dallas after leaving the Mavericks, Nash would record 17 points and 18 assists in a 107-101 Suns victory. From there, Steve Nash would go on to win the 2005 NBA MVP award. However, it would be in the Western Conference semifinals that year where Nash would get the ultimate revenge. Because in these semifinals, the Phoenix Suns were matched up against the Dallas Mavericks, and this series would be a bloodbath that included a career-high 48 points from Nash in a Game 4 loss, but Phoenix would rebound to win Game 5 and take a 3-2 series lead after Nash recorded a triple-double in Game 5, which meant the Suns were looking to close out the series in Game 6, but throughout this game, Dallas controlled the tempo and led by 7 headed into the fourth quarter. It would be in this quarter where the MVP would take over, as with almost a minute left in the fourth,
One of the things that makes Phoenix such a... Nash for 3 and the lead. Got it to go.
Fast forwarding to 20 seconds left, the Suns are now down 3. Enter Steve Nash.
Thousands of times playing one-on-one. Nash in the lane, trying to draw the contact.
Yes, first Nash cuts the lead to 1, and after the Mavericks would make 2 free throws,
D'Antoni trying to get timeout, he didn't. 111-108. Nash goes. This is 3 for the tie. Good!
bang. Steve Nash would hit a huge game-tying three-pointer, and after Jerry Stackhouse would miss a potential game-winning shot, now trailing 114-113, Nash would hit a three-pointer to give the Suns a 2-point lead. Dirk would then miss a layup to tie the game, and then Nash would assist Shawn Marion on a three-pointer to give the Suns a 5-point lead they would never relinquish. This meant the Suns both won this game and the series, which meant they were headed to the Western Conference Finals. And the end result for Steve Nash individually was an absurd 39 points, 12 assists, and 9 rebounds, making him the first player to put up these numbers in a playoff game since Clyde Drexler in 1992. Meanwhile, for Dallas, their season was over and they were left wondering what could have been. As after this game, Dirk Nowitzki said, quote, "He played an unbelievable series and showed why he was the MVP. I think he wanted to show Dallas what we missed, and he did that." And years later, Mark Cuban would acknowledge that he made a mistake not keeping Dirk and Nash together longer, which is pretty obvious. Finishing off though, the final revenge game we are going to cover today is a performance that helped end a dynasty. Because in 1985, the Bulls originally drafted Charles Oakley, and Oakley spent the first 3 seasons of his career in Chicago before being traded to the New York Knicks. When Oakley was traded, he happened to be sitting next to Michael Jordan at a Mike Tyson boxing match, and this move would leave Jordan in shock, as he stated at the time, quote, "We're giving up the best rebounder in the league. How are we going to replace that?" Chicago would obviously replace that, as they would go on to win championships in 1991, 1992, and 1993, and in each of these 3 seasons, the Bulls would knock off Oakley and the Knicks in the playoffs. It would be the year after Michael Jordan's first retirement, however, where Oakley would arguably have the best season of his career, because during the 94 season, Oakley would make his first and only All-Star game, and the Knicks would win the Atlantic Division. And once again, it was the New York Knicks who would face off against the Chicago Bulls, this time in the 1994 playoffs. And as previously mentioned, mentioned, the Bulls no longer had Michael Jordan, which was kind of a big deal. However, this Eastern Conference semifinal series between the Bulls and the Knicks would still be even at 3 games apiece headed into Game 7 at Madison Square Garden. And it would be in this Game 7 where Oakley's abilities would shine bright, and it was revenge time. Because as Patrick Ewing got into foul trouble and scored a grand total of 0 points in the first half, it would be Charles Oakley who would lead the Knicks. From stealing the ball from Scottie Pippen to diving into the crowd and even hitting mid-range jumpers, Charles Oakley was playing as a man possessed. And in the second half, Ewing would regain his form, and with Oakley already playing strong, the two would lead the Knicks to a Game 7 win, which meant the Bulls' streak of 3 consecutive championships was finally over. And to end this game individually, Charles Oakley would finish with 17 points, 20 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals. This is easily one of the most underrated playoff performances the league has ever seen, as Oakley did help end a dynasty here, and of course, he got his revenge. And so there we have it, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to leave a like. It helps out a ton. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe for more videos like this. Also, if you're already subscribed, thank you so much for supporting. You're awesome. We all know it. And as always, have an awesome day, and cue that music.